The Hasbara collective met again. Elite Jewish advocacy keeps gathering in exclusive rooms while regular Jews fight anti Semitism in schools, workplaces, campuses, synagogues, and online. This time, Jerusalem. The Waldorf Astoria, naturally, because apparently nothing says grassroots Jewish survival like luxury hotel lighting, VIP access, exclusive Shabbat programming, policy panels, and the same carefully selected people congratulating each other for understanding the crisis the rest of us are actually living through. Let me say this plainly. I am not against Israel. Jewish advocacy, strategy, diplomacy, donors, conferences, media work, or serious people coordinating in serious rooms. We need all of that. What we do not need is the Hasbara collective acting like it owns Jewish advocacy while treating regular Jews as the audience instead of the army, because that is the problem. Not the hotel, not the panels, not even the networking. Though watching people pose under chandeliers while telling regular Jews to be courageous has that familiar old Jew defense mechanism aftertaste. The problem is that the Hasbara collective has become a gatekeeping machine. It decides who gets amplified, who gets ignored, who is helpful, who is divisive, who is on message, and who needs to be quietly shoved outside the tent for saying the obvious too loudly. And the obvious is this: Hasbara, as currently practiced, has failed, not because Israel has no case. Israel has the case. The Jewish people have history, truth, law, memory, indigeneity, morality, survival, and reality on our side. Hasbara has failed because the Hasbara collective keeps treating anti Zionists like confused dinner guests instead of ideological opponents. It keeps acting like the problem is that Jews have not explained ourselves clearly enough. No, they understand. They just do not care. The collective is the problem. A collective should gather strength, not proximity. It should pull in the parent at the school board, the student on campus, the synagogue volunteer securing the building, the employee hearing Zionist as code for Jew, and the online advocate getting swarmed, doxxed, mocked, and threatened while polished professionals tell everyone to stay constructive. But the Hasbara collective does not collect those Jews. It collects access to donors, access to politicians, access to institutions, access to media, access to the next invitation. That is not collective strength. That is institutional self preservation wearing a blue and white lanyard. And yes, some good people are in those rooms, some serious people, some brilliant people, some people who care deeply and work hard. This is not about pretending everyone inside is useless or corrupt. It is about asking why the same model keeps producing the same failure and then congratulating itself for another summit. At some point, if the fire keeps spreading and the fire department keeps holding elegant panels about smoke awareness, someone has to ask whether they remembered to bring water. The same script, the same failure. The Hasbara Collective has been using the same tired script for years. Be positive, be polished, use facts, avoid sounding angry, do not name anti Zionism too aggressively, do not alienate the people already alienated by Jewish sovereignty, do not be too Jewish, do not be too proud, do not be too direct, smile harder, explain softer, stay reasonable, make the infographic prettier. This is our trauma talking. It is the old Jewish instinct that says if we are reasonable enough, polite enough, useful enough, impressive enough, and morally perfect enough, the world will finally stop trying to put us back in the vulnerable position it prefers us in. But anti Zionism is not a misunderstanding. Anti Zionism is the political movement to strip Jews of sovereignty, history, legitimacy, and self defense in our ancestral homeland. It is not criticism of an Israeli policy. Criticize the government, argue about borders, debate strategy. Israelis do it every day before breakfast and somehow still have time to complain about parking. That is not the issue. Anti Zionism is something else. It is the old demand in modern clothing Jews may live, but only as guests. Jews may pray, but not govern. Jews may mourn, but not fight back. And too much of the Hasbara collective is still too afraid to say that plainly. Why? Because plain truth ruins access. Plain truth makes donors nervous. Plain truth gets you called divisive by people whose entire advocacy strategy is to avoid offending those who hate Jewish power. But regular Jews do not have the luxury of euphemisms. We are living inside the consequences. The real eighth front. When leaders say anti Semitism is another front in the war against Israel and the Jewish people, they are right. It is a front. It is fought in media, campuses, classrooms, courtrooms, HR departments, NGOs, comment sections, school boards, and algorithms. It is fought through language, lies, euphemisms, human rights theater, fake scholarship, and propaganda dressed up as moral sophistication. But for regular Jews, this is not a policy concept. It is Tuesday. It is the student afraid to wear a kippah on campus. It is the Jewish kid sitting through a teacher's context lesson about October 7th. It is the parent standing at a school board microphone, hands shaking, trying to explain that Jewish safety should not be controversial. It is the employee who hears Zionist used as a substitute for Jews and knows exactly what everyone in the room means. It is the synagogue that needs more security but less institutional theater. It is the family that takes down a mezuzah because the repair guy is coming. It is the Jew online getting threatened while the professional advocacy class debates whether calling anti Zionism a hate movement is too spicy for LinkedIn. That is the eighth front, not the chandelier, not the ballroom, not the VIP dinner. The front is where ordinary Jews are being pressured to shrink, hide, apologize, and beg for the right to exist without becoming someone else's political metaphor. So when the Hasbara collective gathers again to discuss Jewish survival and sends almost nothing useful back to the Jews actually fighting, yes, people notice, and they should. Visibility is not victory. Let's stop pretending. These events benefit insiders. Donors get access, politicians get applause, media figures get content, institutions get prestige, influencers get proximity, speakers get clips, sponsors get visibility. Everyone gets to feel like they did something, and maybe some useful conversations happen. I am not denying that. Coordination among leaders can matter, donors can matter, institutions can matter, strategy can matter. Serious rooms can produce serious outcomes, but only if something comes out of the room. So, where is the output for regular Jews? Where is the free school board guide? Where is the campus anti Semitism response pack? Where is the legal directory? Where is the workplace anti Semitism script? Where is the open source advocacy training? Where is the rapid response network? Where is the money for local organizers? Where is the protection for the Jews taking the actual hits online and in public? Give every Jewish student a downloadable guide explaining what to document, who to contact, what language to use, how Title VI works, and how to escalate when the university suddenly becomes fluent in cowardice. Give every Jewish parent a school board packet. Give every synagogue a security grant guide. Give every Jewish employee a workplace response script. Give every local advocate a media kit that does not sound like it was written by committee during a hostage negotiation with the word tone. That would be useful. That would be leadership. That would turn "We stand with you" from a slogan into a tool. The Hasbara collective keeps confusing visibility with victory. It keeps confusing proximity with impact. It keeps confusing elite consensus with Jewish strength. It keeps confusing being invited with being effective. Meanwhile, regular Jews are already fighting. They are posting, organizing, confronting lies, defending Israel, reclaiming Judaism, calling out anti Zionism, pushing back in schools, arguing with institutions, exposing Jew hate, building community, and refusing to bow. They are doing it without scripts, without funding, without training, without security, without institutional cover, and without anyone handing them a badge at a luxury hotel. And many of them are better at telling the truth than the professionals because they are not trying to impress the anti Zionist left. They are not trying to get invited to the next dinner. They are not trying to protect a donor relationship. They are not trying to keep their language soft enough for people who hate Jewish sovereignty. They are just done. Done apologizing, done explaining why Jews deserve to live, done pretending anti Zionism is a good faith position, done letting weak advocacy speak for strong Jews, done asking nicely for permission to exist. That is the energy the Jewish world should be investing in, not managing, not policing, not shushing, investing in. Build the ladder down. So, yes, hold the summit. Invite leaders, bring donors, talk policy, coordinate media, discuss strategy, build alliances, do all of it. But stop calling the Hasbara Collective a movement if it does not move anything beyond the people already inside the room. A serious collective would build the ladder down. It would live stream key panels, release practical summaries the same week, create downloadable toolkits, publish advocacy playbooks, build legal response networks, fund grassroots Jewish creators, train parents dealing with schools, support students facing campus mobs, create security grant guides for synagogues, turn panels into action items, turn donor energy into street level resilience, turn speeches into tools. Because strategy cannot stay trapped in rooms most Jews cannot afford to enter, the Jewish people do not need another polished advocacy class rearranging first class deck chairs while regular Jews are fighting for air. We need an army of informed, equipped, unapologetic Jews who know what they are facing and have the tools to fight back. Not someday, now. Because the people coming for us are not waiting for the next summit. They are already organized, they are already funded, they are already in the schools, the media, the universities, the NGOs, the streets, and the platforms, and regular Jews are already standing in their way. So either help them, fund them, train them, amplify them, and protect them, or stop calling it leadership. Because if the Hasbara collective does not collect the Jews actually fighting this war, then it is not a collective. It is a velvet rope, and the Jewish people do not need a velvet rope right now. We need a battering ram. If you enjoy my writing, support me by buying my book, Screaming into the Void, available on paperback or Kindle on Amazon.com.